Alligator Alley closes while ICE's inhumanity and cruelty continues unabated. So this happened last week, and I know a lot of things are going on in the world. But again, there's all these shiny objects that the Trump administration is trying to put at so that we don't see what's going on. But Alligator Alley was a notoriously terrible, terrible decision that they made with the state of Florida to inflict as much physical, spiritual, psychological, and emotional harm on people, 70% of whom had never committed any type of crime. Their only crime was they were brown-skinned in the United States. So let's just talk a little bit about this closing, but what went on when it happened. So these people, Alligator Alley was in the middle of the in the middle of the Everglades, and some Republican basically called it Alligator Alley and basically said, "Hey, if you try and run away from here, the alligators are going to eat you up." Again, just the cruelty right from the beginning. And what happened is they put this thing, I believe it was on a tarmac of an old airport runway, and they had put them in tents, and then inside those tents they put him in cages. So yeah, inhumanity plus. Now, being Florida, being in the summer, being in the heat, being in the humidity, being in the rain, being in the mosquitoes, yes, all kinds of inhumanity just pledged itself in cruelty throughout the thing. These are just some of the things that happened to them while they were out there. Okay, there were sanitation issues. They had porta potties. They were overflowing. They didn't have piped in. They had to bring their water in there. So sanitation was just, terrible, terrible, terrible. And, they had dietary problems. They had medical issues. People came there. They didn't get their medicine wasn't sent with them. They were on their own. As I said, they were housed in cages. So, there were cold nights there too. And they suffered from that. The course, then was a terrible amount of psychological effect that went into that. And let's just put in other things that came up is, there was an outbreak of COVID that was there. So there were respiratory problems all over the place. People had fungal and foot infections because, hey, you're on the ground. There's water streaming through there. There's mosquitoes all over the place. There's no running water. Yeah, different kinds of problems, fungal skin infections, rashes, etc., all over the place. Well, they closed it down. All right. Florida lost them on a lot of money. They thought the U.S. government was going to pay for it. I don't know if they're going to pay for it or not. So it's closed. But again, the cruelty and the inhumanity, this is what I want to talk about, continue now as ICE is still trying to make more detention centers and the ones that they have, they want to build out. And of course, as has been mentioned before, you have what? All these 1 million square feet, 500,000 square feet, warehouses that they're trying to convert, warehouses, and they're notorious. They don't have indoor, they don't have much air conditioning, etc. They don't have a whole lot of heat in there because it's just designed to store and move product as fast as it possibly can. I don't know how many people you have in those things, 30, 50, 100, 200 people, whereas they want to have 1,500 people at these detention centers. Where's the air conditioning? Where's the heat? Where's the places for them to stay? Because it's just a lot of open space that's out there. They're going to house them in cages again. And again, we also see that there's cruelty. People aren't given their meds. People are beaten up. People are sexually abused, both men and women, I might point out. As terrible as it is all the way around, people are threatened. People are blackmailed. This is what ICE is doing, and this is being done with the full cooperation of the federal government, and all the Republicans in the House and Senate fully agree to this. This is a terribly egregious thing that's going on here. And again, we have all these shiny objects like Iran that's going on right now. But let's remember, many of them, these are people who came to this country, who wanted to work, who have not committed crimes. And we're sending them back to countries that aren't even theirs and that isn't even in the same continent as their home country. I mean, again, this is the inhumanity of this administration. And again, I'm going to go back to my sisters and brothers. I understand that the pledge was that this administration would get rid of the criminals, those who had committed crimes, serious offenses, felonies, They're taking people that have no crimes whatsoever. At the most, many of them have only had small misdemeanors, such as parking tickets, speeding tickets, and a couple other misdemeanors. They're taking them. They're putting them in inhumane conditions. They're taking them away from their family. Their children are being left unattended. This is just how cruel these people are. They know what's going on. The administration knows, and they're still trying to make it just as bad or worse. They're still trying to take people off the streets strictly because they're brown-skinned. And they're going, of course, they're going into blue states and the blue cities to do that also. Again, this is how bad these people are. This is why I say to my sisters and brothers on the conservative side, I understand. Yes, let's get rid of the criminals, okay? But is this how we want to treat people who have come to this country, worked hard, bought houses, have children, sending them to school, paying taxes, etc.? This isn't what we signed up for with this guy. This is terrible. We need to get rid of them as soon as possible. And I can only say that the most important thing we can do coming up into this upcoming election is protest, support progressive liberal causes, support Democrats, and vote unendingly blue, because we must get rid of these terrible, evil people who are running this government right now.